All right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna, and you don't know already. I pray everybody is doing well. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome back once again. How is everybody today? Today, we're just going to have a little open mic situation, a little conversation, if we will. Read a quick article on the importance of fathers. Artists, welcome to the discussion. You know what I realized after many years, and all praise be to the Creator for another day of life. And shout out to all the fathers out there who show up, who have showed up for their children in ways that only fathers can, right? And I realized that we live in an atmosphere where, and I understand it, sometimes it's easier to talk about things outside of ourselves or things that we're observing, you know what I mean, what's going on in the safe spaces. But then when we come into these spaces, it's usually kind of either contentious or, um, you know, it's heated. A lot of things go on in this area because for people it hits close to home. And these type of conversations and topics are not really either or, only because a lot of it is subjective based on the person's experience. And so today, you have a lot of mixed emotions, especially on social media. And if you talk to people in real time, like I said before, when you do word association, like say if I did it right now and I said, hey, when I say the word father, what comes to mind? And I can almost guarantee you that if we all wrote a quick summary, 250 words to 300 word quick summary of father, we're either going to come from our personal experience or come from some type of definition that we think a father should be, right? Growing up, Jamaican says security, right? And so when that happens, when we come into spaces where it's a highly charged topic, because I mean, your mother and your father are the two people, humans, responsible for ushering you in to this physical dimension, right? They are charged as your guardians, literally, to bring you in. And what happens in this space is a whole host of things, right? It could be from conception, it can be preconception, it can be emotions that's attached to the whole process. It can be positive, it can be negative, it can be lack of support. It could be so much that each one of our stories are so very individual that I've learned over the years when you have these type of conversations, you have to leave room, right? You have to leave room because without leaving room for the person to have their individual experience and kind of move through it, then at the end of it, people are feeling unheard. Artist says the beginning of our light, right? So you're going to have all of these very different varying thought processes, as well as some hard truths that should be in place, right? It's just like saying a home, and you have fundamental things that should be in a home, right? And beyond that, that's the home designed to that specific architect's specifications. So it is like a father, because fathers are people, and people have their own personality, their own reasoning styles, their own ways of dealing with emotions as an individual. Because what they're lending to the conversation, in this case, a father, they're lending who they are as a person to this position. And sometimes we try to make cross reference it, and it doesn't. It's like saying all bosses are supposed to behave the same, but each boss comes to the conversation with a different personality, a different mentality, all type of different things. And I was listening to some a podcast of them sharing their experience with their fathers, both having fathers who weren't present, and both having fathers stepfathers who stepped in, and one male man saying that he was contacted by his father, his biological father, but he wants nothing to do with him because he wasn't there. And I don't think the people fully heard him. So what we sometimes do is like, I have a similar experience, and then this is why I think you're wrong, or this is why I would react differently. And I understand it kind of, maybe you're looking at it from a different perspective, but these things are so heavy oftentimes, and it's coming from childhood that there's a lot to unpack here. I am artist says, let's define father. It's who delivers the sperm or one who raises you. And that's another definition. Like if we go to let me get to the definition, because we have to have a working definition. Otherwise, we're going to be all over the place, right? So let's do the working definition as artist just said, and then we'll go from there. Father, a male parenta. They said parenta. Man who has begotten a childer. What is this? What definition, Webster? What parenta and childer? What is this? Some new kind of conversation? What? Wait a minute. Let me open this up real quick. Because this is the first time I'm seeing parenta and childer. What is this? Let me go to Cambridge definition. What in the world is doing over there? It says here. What in the world? Are we just not defining things properly no more? To become the father of a child. This is a verb. So to father somebody. We want the noun. What? We get into thesauruses and all. What in the world is going on with definitions? The title of a Christian priest. The name of what in the world? Yo, are they out here? Okay. Oh gosh, a male parent. It took all that to a male parent. They got fatherhood, father to become a father. Let me go back here. Let me see if I see anything else. Lately, we've been seeing the definitions being played with. I wouldn't think that, something so simple. Okay, Wikipedia is saying a father is the male parent of a child. Okay, the male parent of the child. Besides the parental bonds of a father to his child, the father may have a parental, legal, and social relationship with the child that carries with it certain rights and obligations. So you can have a biological father, you can have a legal father, you can have a spiritual father, right? As we saw in the definition. I didn't think that was going to be that interesting. Yeah, Webster's doing a lot. I was over here like, where the backside I go on with Webster. But let me continue. Yeah, so in this day and age, we would have to define it because, well, we see what's going on. And so from there, you have people who, and everybody's situation, everybody, in order to come into the earth, you had to have somebody who provided the genetic material, their 23 chromosomes, towards your mother's 23 to create you. Okay. So the father biologically is the person who donated their genetic material, contributed. Donate sound kind of wild. Their genetic material to the making of this human being that's going to come into the earth. The responsibilities of a father is where things get a little saucy, especially as we go from culture to culture, right? So this is the social definitions of a father that may vary in different places, right? The responsibilities then, if we get into the actions that are required of a father. And then I'm gonna read a thing real quick. And so if you can just share some of those in the chat, your thoughts on what are the responsibilities of a father, because this also, when we don't have even in a personal relationship, peace and blessings to those who have just joined us, I would say, more than sperm donors, but the biological material, because then somebody could say, oh, she's the egg donor. And that really takes away from all that the father is supposed to be. But yes, uh on a biological level, yes, both parties are donating their genetic material. This is going to be a wild discussion. I mean, it's a discussion that needs to be had because it is also part of the reason why, in my estimation, there is a, even in today's space and time, a deterioration in societal, in just society, period, right? Because all of these very important roles are being negated, and we are at the point where people no longer, not all, but we're seeing socially and societally, especially in the West, certain, because of history, right, because of past historical precedents, that certain roles are not being respected as much as others, right? And so I saw some argument about, or even just some caricature retelling of when it's Mother's Day, the mother gets gift upon gift upon gift upon gift, and when it's Father's Day, they go and they brush off something old and crusty and give it to the man. And that's to say that, see, fathers are not respected in this society. So then one has to ask, how did we get here? First, you would have to accept that the null hypothesis is true. You'd have to accept what the person is saying, that fathers are not respected in society in the West, right? And if you accept that hypothesis, then we would have to say, how did you get here? You understand what I'm saying? How did we get here? So before we get to that point, what are some of the things that we think coming from our culture? So you also have to, if you can, share what culture you're coming from, because it may change from culture to culture. What are some of the things that the father is responsible for? If he's responsible for anything besides donating his genetic material. We already established that. We have Grown Up Jamaican says, provider, protector, teacher, Mr. Fix It, the problem solver, right? Right? The problem solver. So the father's in, and I don't disagree with what you just said. And here we're going to enter into some of the issues, and just so that we can narrow it down, we're going to put it into the melanated community, right? The people of the diaspora, the people who experience this transatlantic slave trade, right? And we're going to look at, even in these contributions that we think a father is supposed to put towards his family, that's number one, right? Towards his family, some of these create a problem in today's space and time, and I think it has contributed to why fathers are less valued, if we're going to go on that and accept that hypothesis, right? So the provider, the economy, and the way in which the man, the melanated man, is positioned, and his access to resources and his access to generational wealth, so that he can be the provider that he would possibly want to be. Because men oftentimes, and men, if you out there, click the link, are connected. Their sense of self as an individual, not yet father, but as an individual, is connected with the capacity to provide, first for themselves, then for their wife, hopefully, and then their subsequent children, right? So if he's challenged in any way, it's going to affect him as a man. And if that affects him as a man, then oftentimes it affects his capacity to show up as a husband and a father, right? So a lot of times the whole husband part is skipped. Him run down the people and gal picnic, him a look front a road, him one there with people, and you accidentally became a father. It wasn't with intention. It wasn't a planting, right? It was, you were looking at Catty, or you were looking at Fluffy, or you were looking at Girl, and you didn't really have any real intentions to build a stable environment so that you can continually show up as this provider. So if we're going to be 100% honest, and he said, Gamuna, this is recent. It ain't recent, because I'm going to be in these paperworks. I don't y'all forget. That's what another part of why I like to go into this paperwork, because I got tired of arguing with people when we just pulling statistics and history out our back pocket, right? And so when you go on a lot of these older paperworks and birth certificates, you are going to see that there is no father listed. And if there's no father listed, 9 times out of 10, that meant that the people were not married and that they were having children out of wedlock, right? Because that is what they called it at that time. It wasn't as normalized, but it definitely was happening, right? So his capacity to provide in this way is compromised because his order of operations, he did it out of order. So for instance, if we juxtapose this to the continent, right? And we juxtapose it to what I'm not even talking about now, because there's a lot of moving towards, Western ideals. But if you juxtapose it to some places that have not been fully integrated into the Western thought process, you will see that there are certain requirements that the man must meet before he's able to take up people gal pick me. I'm just gonna have to say it like that. Right? Artists say, out of curiosity, man get pregnant. I wonder if we could have breed out. I mean, like, who goes around and doing this, right? But we're still on the provider situation. And again, I'll put the link in the box. You guys, this is a conversation, so definitely let me know your thoughts, right? But just in my observation, my studies, and just in life, right? You see that in other spaces, it is expected that the man must first provide for himself. He must first have the capacity to have gainful employment. So oftentimes in other spaces, you don't get 18 and move out. You learn a trade, or you go to school, or you get higher education, and you learn to first support yourself. So the thought is, you cannot look to expand and get a helpmate because she not have nothing to help you with, because you're not doing anything. So one of the things that causes the issue in the space of fatherhood is because the man oftentimes gets thrown into this space and he is not yet competent, he's not yet confident, and he does not yet have the capacity, like the 3 C's, right? Competent, confident, and capacity to maintain or sustain the responsibility that's now put on his head, which is providing for himself, providing for a woman, and then providing for the soul and the child that they create together. So when you look at what's going on in other spaces and expected over there and over here, that's one of the parts that's causing the issue. Because now when you're going to see the agitated father, the father who is angry, I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other spaces. Some of that comes from his own personal issues that now he's taking out on the people that is dependent upon him. If that's the space, you understand? Sometimes as they grow older, they get a better temperament. They learn how to interface with the needs of the family more, and so you may get a more tempered father. Once again, it all depends on the personality and the tools that particular father has. That also goes into the protector as well, right? Did this person grow up seeing what protection looks like? Is this person comfortable as a man to be this protector, right? All of these things are going to go into the type of father that you may have. Also, teacher. Has this person learned in their life? Are they somebody who are open to learning lessons and growing, right? Because how can they teach you what they themselves do not know? And again, Mr. Fix-It goes back to the capacity to do things. I was watching, and I see artists, I'm gonna bring you up. I was watching a Middle Eastern. No, they were in Oman, and the father was a camel. I just be watching weird stuff, so yeah, excuse me. They were into incense. I was looking at the incense trade in antiquity and how it moves from Oman, which is a big hub of incense at that time, throughout the East and as well as the West. And this one particular man, he was a camel trader. So he talked about how he established himself as a young man in business and entrepreneurship, and he built himself up as this camel trader. And then his son said his father would allow him when he was a young boy to come out and be among the camels, right? So his father now is bringing him in, teaching his son responsibility, showing him the ropes. And then eventually, when he got old enough, his father started him off with his own set of camels so that he can then now become his own man. So there was like an initiation process, not into crazy stuff, but into adulthood, that it is expected that in order to understand how is he going to grow and become a man, he has to be taught, right? But a lot of times when there's a disconnect in that process, we find ourselves where we are right now, where, you know, issues. But with that said, I see Artist and Growing Up Jamaican in the chat. So I'm going to go to Artist first and then Growing Up Jamaican. Artist, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, and I'm trying to figure out where to start because I did say it's going to be wild because it's so far and wide. And
Mm-hmm.
you did say your own experience. So it's not
Yes,
like I can think about anybody else but my own.
true.
So, of course, my culture is Jamaican, or is it culture or nationality, one of them? But I'm from Jamaica. But my dad never knew his dad. So I don't think he had any guidance. He had uncles that, when it's not your father, I don't know if you listen to them or not, but they were there as far as I heard. But still, I don't think he had the guidance and of how, I don't know. What I can tell from my dad, he loved kids.
Mm-hmm.
So you have kids, but after a while, it's almost like you're on your own.
Right.
He's there, but you're on your own because I believe because he's always been on his own. He's been on his own, so it's more like that. We will always say, "Daddy love babies. After you grow big, that's it. You just grow big. No, you for mine him kind of thing." So
Wow. Yeah.
it's oh man, I don't even know how to say it. Don't want to make it sound bad or look in the light of him being a bad person because he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was my mom and then with me and my brother, and then after my mom or left because my dad is controlling. I don't know if he's controlling because of the fact that he didn't I guess, I don't know, his dad wasn't there, I don't know, and he feel like he has to control everything around him. After my mom left, then it was my stepmom, and that was 5 kids, and after that there was somebody else and another 3. So he has 10 of us, but it was more, I think we enjoy being babies of our father than the adult part of our father.
Okay.
I don't even know how to class that because I don't think he knew how to raise us. I don't even think he raised us. I think it was more like the mother raised us, but he's there as somewhat of a provider.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really it. I don't think there was any guidance per se. He
Mm-hmm.
was there to defend you if anything happened as your father. It's like, you go tell your father come and say, we'll touch our father. We'll look where do this for, that kind of thing.
Right.
But other than that, I really can't tell you that was anything else. If he did it, I didn't know. I was younger. He was in the background and did stuff that I didn't know about. I don't know. But as being an adult right now, it's like I don't have that kind of relationship with my father because he's not that touchy feely. Um, Not that he's not nice, but he's not very communicative kind of
Mm-hmm.
person. It doesn't express his feelings, and I guess it's the generation I've come from too.
Right.
They can't hard to find to say I love you. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. I know that
Yeah,
word.
kind of thing. I love
Mm-hmm.
you. Your hug, it's like So we grew up in that era where we hug and hello, not them, or I love you, not them.
Right.
So it's very hard to describe my father, but that's really, and like I said, I didn't even wish him happy Father's Day today. I guess I could, but I didn't feel I needed to. I don't know. But that's just my life. That's my father.
Thank you for being so transparent. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, this is a space where it's a reality of what people experience. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't take out somebody else's experience and say, yes, you should do that because this is your experience,
Right.
right? So it's like the father is the giver. So are you giving back to him what he gave to you? You understand what I'm saying? Meaning,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
that may be like where you're not feeling compelled because this is what he gave you, so you're giving it back, which is this
Yeah.
non-connective
Yeah.
kind of way, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, in a sense, because there was a point in my life when I had so much and I would give to him so much, though, because I think of the thing that I feel like he loved me is like my father never beat me yet. And if you touch me, my father will lick you down.
Right.
So I have that love for him that way. Like I would tell people, my father never beat me yet. My father never touched me yet. So I feel like that was love,
Right.
but he's never really hit any of his kids.
Right.
So, but it was like I gave to him, but now when you don't give to him, it's almost like, I don't know. You don't mean nothing to him anymore as being an adult. I don't know. That's how I
Interesting.
feel. That's
Wow.
it.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. This is part of the process as we continue to grow and continue to learn. It's a part of who we are. It's a part of how we see the world. Our parents being there or not being there shapes whether we like it or not our worldview. You know what I mean? Until we become conscious and then make concerted efforts to change it if we don't like how it looks. Growing up Jamaican, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
Good evening.
my situation is not very popular. I was
Hmm.
born with my parents being very married. So, I was born into a marital home. My mother didn't work. My father provided for the entire family. I mean, he had his own business. He ran his own business. So, my story was not popular compared to when I went to school and when I interacted with other people. I realized, like, oh, sure, my situation is a little bit different.
Hmm.
Because my mother's home, I remember people, I had friends that used to say, oh, I'm going home to cook. And I was like, why you got to go cook? Not
Hmm.
realizing that, my mother's here, I would just go home and say, can I have something to eat, mommy, please? And I would
Right.
have a meal on the table. Now, my father being the provider and piggybacking off of what the young lady before me said, my father has never said to me, "I love you," because love is an action word. Love is a verb. It's not. You ever hear people abuse other people and then tell them how much they love them? I've never heard those words out of. Mind you, he's been gone for the last 10 years.
Okay,
But
my condolences.
I've never heard that out of my father's mouth. But do you feel it? Yes. Do you feel the love in as a family? Stuff that he did, the way he provided, the way he looked out for us. Did you feel the love? Yes. And that's what people have to know, that love is a feeling, love is action, love is not just words. And I didn't come from a family or I mean, no, I make sure I do it with my kids. I hug them, I say I love you, but I didn't get that. My parents never hugged me and never say I love you. My father was never touchy feely like that with his daughter. It was like a little
Right.
standoffish respect thing. But do you feel the love because this man provided and gave you what you needed? Put a roof over your head you never needed for anything. You compare yourself to what you see out there and you realize, oh my God, I'm so blessed because of this man. And I can tell you, I felt like my father never raised us because he's there, everything, but the hands on every day. You get a whooping because you did this. My mother did all of that because my father was always working. He leaves at 7 in the morning. He comes home at 7 at night. He's only home on Sundays. When he's on home on Sundays, we go to the beach as a family. But he was not there hands-on. But did he do that for his grandchildren? Yes. He was that grandfather who put them on the bus, take them off the bus. If somebody got sick, he was the one that picked them up from school because we were working.
Right.
So, it's as you say, it depends on the culture and how you were raised, what the norm is in the society where you were raised. And as I said, I am a little bit different, but I felt love from both parents. And that's not a lot of people's story. And I didn't realize that until I'm grown, until I hear like all these horror stories coming from fathers that were absent. And I swear to God, I felt like I was this naive person that really didn't know what was going on in the world because my world was a little bit different, So, that's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You bring up some very important points. And I just appreciate you for sharing your experience, and it just helps to show that everybody's experience is different.
Yes.
Everybody's experience is different. But what are your thoughts on the culture at that time of parents doing but not saying I love you? Like, because here Bawana is asking, so is growing up Jamaican saying I love you is not required for dating a woman, because now they have been told that as long as I'm providing for you, I don't have to say I love you. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm saying, with my generation and with my children, I did change that.
Right.
I do the hugs and I do the love and I still do the action my parents did.
Right.
I still do the providing and the taking care of and all of that, and being there, covering your back all the time. Yes, I'm that. The thing is, my mother was a helicopter parent long before a helicopter parent was a thing. And I'm 50. So, and my mother will hover over you. Hover, what are you doing? Can I help you? She's still like that today. She's 80 years old.
Oh, bless her, bless her.
She's still like that today. So it's not, we have to, as we grow, and of course, I have more education than my parents. So I have to do things a little bit different than them. I can't I have to take what they give me and kick it up a notch. That's just how I feel.
Correct. I agree.
I
agree. I can identify with a lot.
To do better.
Each generation has to do better. I think it's a combination of where they were coming from, the time that they grew up in.
Right.
Because a lot of our grandparents were coming in the 30s or the 20s, then born, and they coming up in they had our parents, if they had them in the 50s or the 60s or whatever. And then for those who are older, it's what generation were you exposed to, and was saying I love you something that was norm for the culture? You know what I mean? But today, I tell my children all the time I love them and hug them and let them know, because it's one thing to say, here's some food. It's the next thing for them to know, I prepared this food with love. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to sit down with you and going to eat it. You're going to remember this meal because you felt it, as opposed to it being an obligation for me to feed you.
Right.
But you don't feel the love in me doing so. It's a big difference. You understand? Because then, as Buana is asking, it primes you for going outside and accepting a certain standard.
Absolutely not. My husband said to me, he says, you're spoiled. And I said, that's because you're not used to women with a father. That's because you're used to them daughters that will put up with anything because they don't have that father foundation. My husband tell me all day long. And I said, you got big shoes to fill. I'm sorry. I mean, he's filling them nicely. But he has to step up and step up to the plate. It wasn't just no little wishy-washy young woman that had some kind of relationship with a strained relationship with a father. No,
Right.
that wasn't the situation here. And he stepped up. It's like you have to give people boundaries. You have to teach people how to treat you. You know, not 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 because you had a father that did not stand behind you and did not give you the attention that you want. You have to set boundaries in your life to make sure that you get what you want, whether you were given that blueprint or not.
Thank you so much for that. This is a conversation that even the way in which the father being there or not being there affects the man and the woman is something that is important to the relationships that you go on to build. Because in
True.
so much as the woman having a father, the man not having a father, like you said, that dynamic may make her seem as if he's not able to step up and fill the certain shoes, you know what I mean, because he doesn't know, it wasn't modeled necessarily for him how to be that man.
But as
Mhm.
we grow up, we start through critical thinking skills, we start figuring out what's acceptable, what is not acceptable as far as what we're going to be doing in our life. Because yes, it's nice if we can get a blueprint from our parents, but you know what? If we didn't get the kind of blueprint that we want, it's up to us now to look out there and said, let me make my own. What do I want to pattern? Do I want to go down the same road that my parents did, or do I want to make a little bit different changes? It's
True.
up to us now. We can't blame our parents at this point. We're grown. So it's up to you now. Even if it is your responsibility. Even if you did not get that a blueprint, you know what's right from wrong. It's up to you now to forge and form what you want. So that's an excuse to me, I think.
I think it's a combination, that what you're speaking about, I agree. And then there needs to be a level of consciousness for the person to get to that point, because
Yeah.
everybody is not even not only conscious but honest about what they saw, because it's varying degrees of what you even saw. And for you, the person who saw something that was maladaptive, they may think it's normal, so they may not even think that there's anything wrong, you understand, to be able to change, because they have not yet identified. That's why I say it really varies based on what you were initially exposed to
But
say,
you
what,
know
this is, I need to change.
but right, and until the person has come to that point to say, I want to do something a little bit different, I want to change that paradigm. We're programmed with certain things, but it's okay once we start figuring out that, oh, that don't make no sense and that didn't work, so why am I doing
Yeah.
the same thing that didn't work?
Right.
It creates that awakened aspect of you where you got to look and say, and this is where reasoning with yourself come in, like, this don't make no daggone sense. I'm not doing that. I see my parents did that, it didn't work.
And
I see my mother jump from man to man, I have children, different baby fathers, that didn't work. That just put us in such a horrible place and space. Am I gonna repeat that? We have to be conscious. There's no other way to do it. We can't always blame our parents. You cannot get something from somebody that they don't have.
well, that I would say I agree, as I'm saying. But this conversation, for those who are listening, it's really
Mhm.
stages, because in the same way the parent can't give you what you don't have, for you to model
You can't
something that
give. Yes.
you, right, you can't produce
You
what you
can't
didn't.
give. True.
So you're
True.
giving now, especially if you're midstream, especially if you're already in it, you already have the picnic them, you know what I mean, to be able to do what you need to do for yourself and pivot in that space. It's not for the
Mm-hmm.
faint, because then resentment may come in and all of these other feelings of, I'm giving what I didn't have, so I'm giving from my deficit, really. And this is
Right.
where, like you
True.
said, the consciousness comes in, and the ability to take time with oneself and go through that process. Because, yeah, you're also asking the person who is at a deficit to turn around and do better. And then
And
the
do better.
question is, with what? I mean, what are they doing better with?
But
So it is a lot. It can be done, but I
I don't
definitely it's a lot.
I don't know. As I said, my situation is a little bit different, so I might think differently because
Most definitely.
I remember as a young girl, you know the baby mother word there, Jamaica? I
Hmm.
despised baby mother. I despised that word. From yay high, I always said to myself, nobody will ever call me them baby mother. They'll call me them ex-wife, yeah, but you will never call me a baby mother. And I make that conscious decision from early, and nobody ever did, and nobody can will ever call me
Right.
them baby mother, because I fixed that right there. Because that
Right.
was something that was just a word that I didn't like.
What do you think made it so upsetting, or something that what was it about it that was so off-putting?
You know what? That was also coming from my dad. He
Okay.
had a bunch of sisters that had children with different men, and
Okay.
he used to tell us it's just two daughters. He only had two daughters, three sons and two daughters. And my father would tell us as females, he said, listen, my sister them sorry for man. No, don't sorry for no man, okay? Look about yourself first. Make sure that in anything, you as the female, because men can do whatever they want and they gone about their business. This is now a man that, and trust me, Bob Marley got nothing on my dad. But guess what?
Mm-mm.
My mother, well, not the beating part. My father never beat my mother. But womanizer, uh-huh. But at the same time, he sat his girl children down and tell them, listen, don't sorry for no man.
Mm.
So my father was a womanizer. Yeah, my father had that two children in 1 year. Yes, he did.
What him did I do the Bob pile?
Him do the Bob. Him have two sons in 1 year.
Yeah, said to
One
me.
from one from my mother and one from another woman.
But I find
Yeah,
that curious, and then Bawana's in the chat, so we're gonna hear, and everybody definitely stay on, cause we are reason. But I find it curious that, and it's not just your father; it is also men would advise or don't desire for their daughter what they're willing to do to someone else's daughter.
true. That is so true. And he was this is a man that sit down and reason with us as girls.
Right, right.
Reason. So I'm telling you, we coming out here, we ain't starting from scratch. No, my father done he gave us the game. Like, no,
Right.
you don't feel appreciated. He said, because when a man love a woman, he will do whatever it takes to make her happy.
Hmm.
He will do
So,
whatever it
basically,
takes.
the onus is on the woman then. If she finds herself in that predicament, the onus is on her.
That's what he tells us. You look out for you. Don't look out for no man. Because the man is out there looking out for themselves.
So very interesting. I have so much to say on that, but we're gonna stay right where you are. Stay right where you are. Bawana, welcome to the conversation.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Amona. Good afternoon, ladies. I hope
Good
you all having a
afternoon.
good afternoon. Yeah, so I'm listening to this conversation, especially growing up Jamaican, and I would just remind my sisters, especially with the sisters who have this idea of who have the daddy little girl syndrome, that you when you're looking for men, you should look for qualities, the good qualities. And when you say you grew up with your daddy doing everything for you, look for the good qualities in the man, not your daddy himself. Because I found that when the sister says that, um, you know, that my partner has some big shoes to fill, I'm not trying to fill your shoes of your dad. I'm your man. I'm trying to fill my own shoes. I'm not trying to, because I could never fill or replace the shoes of your father. So if you looking at me to be a replacement of your father, then I would never fit the bill. I would rather you see me for the man that I am. Yes, I may have some qualities or exemplify some qualities in which your father possessed, and that's wonderful. But don't look for me to be your dad. Sometimes I have an issue with daddy's little girls because of that. Because they're not looking for me. They're really looking for their dad. So when I don't color within the lines of what their dad would do, then now I'm transgressing the relationship, or I'm not doing something right. Because in truth, in essence, you ain't looking for me. You're looking for your dad. So it's always going to be an issue. So I just would remind the sisters who have the daddy's little girl syndrome thing going on, that could be a stick that your partner will always be continuously beaten with when he don't fit the bill in which your dad would have done in particular situations when he is with you. So I just want to remind the sisters of that.
Thank you. That's some interesting points right there. What are your thoughts on
Can,
that?
can- yeah, can I respond to that?
Yeah,
So
man, go ahead.
he's not to fill my father's shoe. My father did his job. He's gone. He's gone. However, he has left a daughter behind with certain standards. Okay? I'm going to give you a scenario of what happened. I mean, this was years ago, though. This was like about 20 years ago. We had gone to Jamaica, and at the time, his mom had passed. My husband's mom had passed. And that was a little bit after we had gotten married. And my mother-in-law passed. I went to Jamaica at the time. He was still in Jamaica at the time. I went to Jamaica for the funeral. When I went down there, when I met my husband, he was building this home. The home wasn't finished. And I remember, his mom had passed and he wanted me to stay in his family's home. The main house where his mom and dad lived was, because family and everybody was full. So now his house, it had a bedroom that was semi-finished. It wasn't painted. There was a bedroom in there. There was a bedroom set in there. There was clean sheets and stuff. And I looked around and I said, I've never slept in a place that's not painted. And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. And I said, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. This is what you're going to do. And of course, he lives in Linstead. My family's home that I was born and raised in, that my father provided for us way back in the day, is still sitting in Kingston. And I said, I'm not staying in this room that's not painted. You got to take me back to my house.
Oh, wow.
And he looked at me and said, you're putting a lot of pressure on me. But you know what? He did. He did. Until he was tired to stroke back and forth until he decided that he was going to get a guy to paint my room. And he did. And once he painted it, I was comfortable. I was fine after that. We had a wonderful time. He was able to focus on what was going on, all the planning and stuff with his mom. And I was right there. But I'm sorry, sir. This room is a little scary if it's not painted. I'm sorry. If I was raised with a certain standard, I'm sorry.
Interesting. Luana, what are your thoughts on that example that was just given? Is that something?
No, first of all, if she was with me, she was gonna definitely sleep in that room. But what I'm saying is that, yeah, she was definitely gonna sleep in that. But what I'm saying is that in that relationship, yeah, she would sleep in that. But in that relationship, the man is consistently having to swim upstream, because now the situation becomes, oh, I've never slept in a room that's unpainted. Look, think about how random that is. That is extremely random. And I'm saying to myself, I am having to fight with ghosts. I am having to have to match up to a situation. No, because in her life experience with her dad, I'm telling you, he has to wear her dad's shoes consistently. So now it might be an insignificant, what I perceive as an insignificant thing. I've never ate with a fork with a fork like this before. You need to get me a silver fork to eat. I mean, really and truly, it becomes almost ridiculous though. Really and really and truly, man. So there are some things. There are some things. Yes, standards. Yes, there should be certain things that should be met in a practical within reason. Within reason. But when it coming down to, oh, you know, I don't like this bathroom because it's the color pink. My dad would never paint a bathroom this color. I can't use this bathroom. Let me go back to. Come on, man. Come on, man. I think that you should. Well, if I was this man, I would say, you know, sister, growing up Jamaican, come on, let's be reasonable here. Well, I would be able to convince her, but she seemed like she's a bully, so she probably bully him with all kind of mad things. So
No, wait a minute.
yeah.
No, wait, hold on there. Okay. We're talking about, don't worry about growing up Jamaican. You know, Bo and I like make joke. But listen up, if we're talking about provider, right? If there was a bed already in the room, just for the example, then the question would be, how did the bed get in the room and when the room wasn't finished painted, right? So to me, it's like, did you follow through on this work before you continued? Or is this how you're going to be doing things going forward? Yeah, are you going to be doing things in this manner, or are you going to take time to diligently prepare things as we go forward in life? I mean, going to sleep somewhere else, that's a personal decision. But were you using it as a yardstick of what is to be expected, or to let him know, listen, I require a higher level of delivery when when I'm coming somewhere with you? You understand what I say? If that's the case, then it's setting kind of a precedent. Because if I accept less and less and less, then you're gonna feel comfortable with giving me less and less and less. You understand what I say? So I think she
Yes.
did say it was early on in the relationship. And is this what you're gonna do? Chaka up the stuff? Are you gonna half paint the stuff, leave, sit and fling down? Because if this is the case, we're gonna stop it right now. So I could
There,
kind of see both ways. It's not necessarily, oh, my father would have never do that. You know, we just a while ago. I mean, that is like, I can see what you're saying. That's like using the father to kind of push the man into the way in which you want him to go, as opposed to, sir, is this your standard? Is this what I can expect from you? If so, I'm letting you know now that I have a higher expectation.
and that's a fine thing to say. And listen, I am no, Mona. I'm a reasonable person. If you sit down and reason with me certain things, and I could see the logic in what you're saying, I say, okay, you know, I have an expectation of these particular things, even in the relationship itself. So I have to look at myself and say, well, am I able to fit the bill in this woman's life because she requires certain things? And if I am not, then I would say, well, let's just be friends. Let's just be friends.
Have you had daddy's girls? Have you had personal experience with women who had their fathers in their life that made it difficult to?
It's never been.
Come from a personal space.
It's never been. Listen, Mona. Mothers, black mothers, they love me to death. They love me to death because I grew up in this really in the same situation as growing up in Jamaica. My father's always been in my life. Anything that I needed, he was the type of person to provide it for his 4 children. It's never been an issue for him. My mother's kind of like was a home woman, even though she could have worked if she wanted to, but her thing was really to take care of the children. But my father was so I have that same kind of mentality. As listening to growing up Jamaican is like listening to one of my sisters and their ridiculousness. But I just think that, yes. But I think that sometimes they need to measure men with the man himself and not with their fathers, because that could lead to a lot of difficulties. I see the men suffer, man. It's almost like they're getting abused because they don't know how to deal with certain kinds of women and demanding women. Say, my daddy, you know, I know growing up, I know her. I don't even have to meet her personally. I know her. But you have to, as a man, you have to be a certain way and very measured, because if you don't do that, those same kind of sweet ladies are gonna take advantage of you, man. I'm telling you, they're gonna take advantage of you, and you will never get it right until you get it right their way. And to me, that's not really a conducive for a partnership or a fair relationship. To me, it's gonna lead to a whole lot of imbalances. And I would just remind my sisters who had the pleasure of having a father who was always there and providing and doing this and that and the third, to sometimes dial it back. And you have to sometimes work with a man until he gets there, because not all men are there yet. So you have to be able to develop and speak to your mamas, because your dad wasn't always like that. He had to develop himself to a
True.
certain way and measure and thinking until he got it right. And then now he passed it on to his children and his family, etc., etc., etc. So I think it's good to sit down and talk to your mamas, because your mamas could give you a real view of how your daddy really was, and
That's a
until
good
he
point.
got to where he needed to be. That's what I would say.
That's a good, excellent point you're making. You're actually making some excellent points, Bawana. Growing up Jamaican, Bawana said a lot there. What are your thoughts
Yes,
on
he
that?
sure did. He sure did. Listen, the man is still around after 21 years. So I don't know. If I was bullying him, he probably would have kite-tailed out of here a long time ago.
Mm.
I'm just saying. Let me tell you something. And we tend to want to compromise until we lose ourselves. No, you should not have to lose yourself in a marriage because you're compromising and lowering your standard so badly, so till you lose yourself. Now, get back to that situation 20 years ago. Let me tell you, I'd said to him, I said, listen, I don't want to pressure you. Get one of the guys to paint the room for me. I'll buy the paint. I didn't want to put no extra financial pressure on him. I even went and they got molding for the doors and all of that stuff. And I'd sent down ahead of time, I'd sent down a whole suitcase filled with curtains and bed sheet and all that stuff. And all my stuff was there. I put my room together. I was quite comfortable and he was happy and I was happy. You have to make sure your wife is happy, because listen, if your wife ain't happy, you ain't gonna be happy. If
Oops.
one hand washes the other. Okay, so if that makes me a bully, so be it. I
I
have
can't right now.
standards.
I mean, I could see where you guys are both uh I could see where you guys are both coming from. Again, it's just showing that there are different outcomes based on the individual as well based on their experiences with their father. So from what I'm hearing, Bawana can identify, because from what he's saying, you would be in the position of one of his sisters. And so that would be your expectations. He would have lived with someone with those expectations. And I can hear what he's saying when he's saying to have expectations, but also don't hold the man to a standard that's beyond him to fill. Right. So I guess it's really defining what that is. You know, there's some women that they mash up every relationship because no one will ever be like their father. And so in that respect, he's right in that that's who they're looking for. I don't get that from you growing up Jamaican. That specific situation you gave, you were willing to work with it. But there's some women who their father was X, Y, and Z, and no man could ever fill his shoes. And what I'm hearing from Bawana is, why are you looking for the man to specifically fill the shoes of the father in that respect, right? He's his own person. For those who've in the audience, feel free to click the link and share your thoughts and your experiences. We're talking about fathers today, and yeah, we're just vibing. So go ahead, whoever would like to speak.
I would want to just quickly say to shout out to my dad. My dad is no longer here. He's been dead 3 years, but
My
he was
condolences.
yeah, no sweat. He was a good brother, very good man, very jovial. Um, he was a take charge kind of person, and I could understand growing up Jamaican, because I did grow up in a unique experience, considering the fact that there are so many houses where the mother runs the roost. That's not really been my experience. So
Yeah.
I understand the responsibility of manhood, and I don't shy or run away from it. I think that sometimes being a dad is not really looked at, well, it's looked at by some men as a fearful thing because it has responsibility attached to it. But I see it as a cool thing. Yeah, I mean, I see it as a cool thing. Yeah, people, I don't understand why people look at fatherhood to be so mysterious and mystical and bad. I see it as a cool thing because the representative in which I had as a person in terms of manhood and fatherhood, it was my dad, and he was a cool dude. That's my daddy. I was a
Right.
grown man still calling him daddy. Could you imagine
Right.
such a thing? A grown man.
No, I mean,
So
yeah,
yes. So shout out to the brother wherever he is. I just really wanted to give him
bless up.
say something a note in words towards Father's Day for him. So
Right.
I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, and we need to hear that. I think your viewpoint on fatherhood not being scary is because you had a visible representation and a good one. For some, it's scary because they didn't have a representation, or they did have a representation and it was bad, and they're still carrying the injuries from that. So I think it's always good to be able to hear someone say, you know what, I had a good father, right? And also hear them say, listen, I had a father who was there, but he didn't show X, Y, and Z, because all of these experiences are valid. You understand me? I say all of these experiences are valid, but we do need to hear about the fathers who were there so that young men coming up can understand this is a beautiful part of life. If you embrace it, if you get the tools and the support, because fathers also need support. Father is when people think fathers know everything, and then they don't, and then they feel as though they've failed because they don't know everything. So fathers themselves also need support. Let
But
me see
saying
here.
all this, my husband did come from a marital home with mother and father as well. So this is
Okay.
why the dynamics work.
Right. Wow. So and so saying that, how much, as you're saying, how much does the dynamic, like all of these quote failed relationships, how much of the modeling plays into why the relationships don't work? Because for instance, if a man comes from a home where it's a single mother, his expectation may be that the mother is going to do everything because he saw his mother do everything, right? And so she did it because she had to. And so now as a husband, she may have to keep telling him to get off the couch, keep asking him to do things. He doesn't know how to do things around the house. So then that creates an issue within the household. So sometimes people are like, oh, these relationships are not working for a myriad of reasons. And one of
Oh,
them is not being able to either live up to the person who you saw, or not being able to learn how to come into your own in your role and do that well. What are your thoughts? I heard someone who was about to speak. Go ahead.
This is where this sentiment of unequally yoke come in.
True. True.
Okay, you have you there's bread over here, there's hard dough bread, and then you try to put the hard dough bread and the bullet together to make a sandwich. then it's gonna be a hell of a dynamic. It
True.
can work, but it's gonna take work, because each person's circumstances, it's not a familiar circumstance, so it doesn't fit. It's a
Right.
hard slice of hard dough bread and a bulla. You're trying to put that together. What do you put in the middle?
Yeah, got chalk. Bulla and hard bread. Yeah, got chalk.
The thing is, maybe
growing up,
Go ahead,
bro.
Rowan.
Growing up Jamaican is right. Yeah, she is right. It's been my experience that if I date a girl who comes from a home where there is a father in the house, there's an easier transition with me because I am gonna be a man in a relationship. I don't know how I can't be a woman in a relationship. Yeah, so the dynamic of the roles, I could just slide right into place because she understands. If she comes from a foundation where the man was there, she understands, okay, this person, he has certain obligations, and yes, he has certain privileges because he is the man. At the end of the day, if I am dating a woman who's never seen a dad, who's never had a man in her life really at any point in her life, then there becomes a push and pull kind of situation.
Right.
We battling for who should have say and who should be really be the decision maker for the relationship. It's always a battle. And then I've got statements like, "Oh, you're trying to be my dad." No, I'm just trying to be a man.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be a man in a relationship. I don't know how else to be. So it's gonna come across as if I'm trying to father the situation, but in truth, I'm just really fitting in my role in the relationship, which she may not understand because she has not seen that, and that's not been her experience. So I think that when grown-up Jamaican talks about being equally yoked, that's something you really have to weigh and measure. It's unfortunate. I don't like to judge people just because they may come from an experience that is not like mine, but
Mm.
boy, I tell you, you know what I mean? Sometimes it is what it is, and that's the difficulty, because the foundation in children is laid very early. What they see, what they experience, what they get used to and comfortable with, and sometimes they take that on into adulthood, and you don't want that dynamic, because it's like it just becomes a very difficult arrangement from time to time. But I don't know how y'all guys have dealt with it, but it's just been a struggle for me in that regards, because so many homes are led by women, unfortunately, you know.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I want to throw you off. Prudent Mom is saying, is Bawana Guyanese or Bajan? But wait, hold on, Bawana. Let me use my accent detector here. I think he's Bahamian.
Wow, that's good, Amona. That's good. That's very good, Amona.
You're
That's very
Bahamian,
good.
aren't you?
Yes.
Of
That's
course.
very good.
I
Yeah.
have an ear for accents.
Yes, yeah. That's very good.
Very
That's very good.
fine-tuned accents. So
That's
yes,
very good. Because
yes.
usually I get the Bayesian. I
No, you're
haven't
not
gotten the
Bayesian.
Guyanese before.
You're not
I
Bayesian.
haven't gotten the Trini.
No,
Yeah, that's good. That's
you
good.
don't. Bayesians have a cockney where Bayesians cut the words. Like I going out the store and they go around the corner and he's taught like this. That is Bayesian, right? So I could catch a Bayesian accent. I'm like, nah, that's not Bayesian. He's Bahamian. So that's your answer, Prudent Mom. Thank you for that, and for all the Bayesians out there, respect. But yeah, a Bayesian Cockney it's a kind of a Cockney that the accent is kind of cut a little more. Any else having? Anybody else having? Yeah, it's good. I agree with Jennifer that it's good to hear a man's perspective on the conversation. That's why I always drop the link, and because this is a conversation where we hear one side of the story, and we definitely have to hear the other side of the story. So, what do you think on the provision aspect of a relationship? Should you be able to provide for yourself? I'm talking, Buana, if you don't mind sharing your thoughts before you get into a relationship. Is this part of the reason why there's some issues with the baby mother, baby father culture?
Provide for yourself. What you mean by that?
Meaning like men getting in relationships with women and not going with him, and he feels like she should help him come up, right?
Oh,
And
no. If you don't have, first of all, if you don't have a job and if you don't have a place of residence which you pay for, not any other adult person, no, you can't get in a relationship. No, you can't do that. No, go get a job. Go get to fix yourself up, buy a car, possibly, if you can't get to point A to point B. But you shouldn't be looking for no woman. Women cost, it sounds bad, but women cost money. It costs money today.
I didn't go sound bad. It's a reality.
No, women cost money. No. You have to fix yourself up first. No, you can't have no woman until you get in some. That's been my experience. I understand we live in a so-called modern society where modern women are taking control of the reins of the house, but that's not where I come from. I feel like you need to be fixed up yourself first before you can talk to a woman. Yeah, you have to go fix up. And Marcus Garvey, fix up yourself first. You have to fix up yourself first.
Marcus, let's struggle a little bit still, but we're gonna pick up on Marcus this week still. Marcus was struggling a little bit. And I think that's kind of where Amy kind of feel away, because when she was with him, he really didn't have anything. You understand what I'm saying? So that may be why she feels like he owes her to a certain degree. I don't know. That's it.
Yeah, and in my culture, another thing too is you can't propose, usually the older generation, they used to say that you can't get married unless you moving a woman into your home
Right.
or someplace that's conducive close to your home. You can't marry yet. So
You
you have
gotta
to
have
prepare
some place
yourself.
to put her. Yes. That's the culture
Absolutely,
that I
because you ain't
know.
living in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't living in my house. So there are some there yes.
You gotta
So
have
there
some
there
place
are
to
some
put her.
things. Absolutely. So there are some things you must do prior to engaging
Absolutely.
with women, and so because they have needs. It ain't well. That's a whole nother matter. That's my answer to your question, Amuna.
No, go into the whole nother matter, because I think this leads into fatherhood. I said it earlier. I don't know if you guys are on that early, that because things are done out of order in this particular culture, we have a lot of issues that we do, like the man moving in with the woman, like the man needing the woman to help level him up, like them getting pregnant and they have no resources, and all of that puts excessive strain on the relationship. So I think it does lead into fatherhood, because men are oftentimes not prepared for fatherhood because they didn't secure a home, they didn't secure a relationship, and therefore the child is look what we have here. You know what I'm saying? The surprise, like Uber Eats, the child is
Oops.
like a delivery. Oops, you know, like who's at the doorbell? Oh, I'm Pickney. Like what?
Yeah. No.
So
We're not
you know,
doing that. We're not
that's
doing
kind
that.
of what's
No,
happening today.
we're not
There's
doing that.
more baby showers than they are wedding announcements. You understand what I'm saying?
Baby. Hmm.
And then if you ask, well, who's the man or where's the man, it's offensive now. Like people are offended, and you're wondering, I thought that was a logical question. How do you have like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 children and we don't know where the children came from? But
Yes,
every
and
time, go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I have seen women with children, even not 4, 5, 2 kids, and they become very angry because there's so much pressure on them and them alone. It's like
Mm-hmm.
no one to help me. I need help. I need help. And
Right.
the man and piss off, and my heart goes out to these kinds of scenarios because it's like, what can I do? What can I do? And the only could be a listening here, because it's like I'm not gonna be the child's father, but I understand the narrative when they say, well, these women are unapproachable, they angry, they miserable. It's not the fact that they're miserable. Some of them just tired.
That's true.
Some of them just tired. They tired.
Thank
But
you.
what?
You guys made us like that. Not us, because that's not my situation. Because I have boundaries. These women don't put boundaries down and then they get whatever. If you don't put those boundaries down, you end up with whatever. Are you ready for the
What you?
whatever? When you get the
What
whatever,
the?
don't complain. That's just
What
what
the
I have
women
to do.
tell me though? What the women tell me though, growing up Jamaican, is that they wasn't. They tell me that their partners wasn't like that at first. They said that the demon come out after the fact, almost like they get fooled. Yeah, it's almost like they get fooled into the situation, because initially some people, we come with smiling faces sometimes,
True.
and sometimes
So true.
sometimes the women let their guard down because they say, well, this man could never do these kinds of things, and then until they're in the situation, say, oh my God, look where I am.
True.
Some people don't show their face initially. Some people.
You hear what my father told me? Don't sorry for no man. Okay? Let him figure out his business. Don't sorry for no man. In everything, you put yourself first. Because what they say? Daddy is maybe, but mom is baby. Okay? Especially when they could just get up and walk out. You're
True.
left in it unless you're gonna throw. And the thing is, once you carry that child and that mother instinct kick in, I don't know how people just give their kid away after that, because I couldn't.
Right.
Because you have to look out for you as the female. If you put you first, everything else will fall into place. That's just my thing.
But doesn't this lead into what the fathers were supposed to represent when we spoke about earlier about the protector? If the man in a society knows that the male, the father, the males in the family are going to step to him, which is what they did in times past, to hold him accountable, even if she fell prey to him, because the onus is now being put on the, and I'm saying this, in quotations, the weaker vessel, quotations, because because the onus is now put on her to trust or to try to believe someone. This also puts a wedge in the relationship, because it's teaching her that I cannot trust a male counterpart. So even if you get in a relationship with him, there is a distrust of him. Do you understand what I'm saying? And when we talk about the relationship between the man and the woman and the breakdown, part of this is because she trusted him and he burnt her. So how could he really lead her? How could he really govern the household if he's untrustworthy? You understand what I'm saying? So
What I would say,
go ahead.
yes, yes, yes. What I would say is that to my sisters, I would say that men should earn the right to in every aspect of your life. When you say trust, they must earn the right to be trusted. When you
Trust
say
is
love,
earned.
you must earn my love. You must earn my love. I can't just give you my love. My love is earned. You must earn the right to even to have a conversation with me, let alone lay down in the bed and have you stick your genitals in me. You have to earn the right for certain things. And there's a baseline, at least in your mind, not just a smile and a laugh and a convincing conversation, but you have to do certain grown up Jamaicans say love is an action word.
Action is the word you're
Yes.
looking for. You gotta have some,
Yes.
you gotta see some action. Ain't nobody gonna
Yes.
tell me. And this is why I respect my father. I respect my parents, because both of them were the same. It's oh, Alicia, I love you so much, my boo. No, I never got that. But did I feel the love? Yes.
So love is
is an
something.
action word.
Yes. So all these things are earned, and these things should not be freely given away. I would tell my sisters that, because I
Absolutely.
understand there is an emotional side to the sisters, that they have a big heart and they want to embrace and love and give it to them. But these things need to be earned. So you not only use your emotional mind, but also you have to build some logical mind muscle too. Use your logic and reason too. Build some muscle with that, because you can't just give yourself away unearned. Because at the end of the day, it's only gonna be you who gonna be left with the bag. Just like Grown Up Jamaican was saying.
I mean, all of this sounds so good. Me not like. But as we stand today, the women them that take this advice, the other side is you're gonna be left by yourself, because the men, not all, but a great majority, work to break down those defenses, work to break down her self-confidence, to say what you are requiring of me are too much. And you're gonna be a cat lady, and you're gonna be all by yourself and never have no picnic, because you think too highly of yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how much is she really able to do what is being advised of her and get into a viable relationship?
You know what my father would say to me? If that man loves you, he will do what it takes to make you happy. And if you can't come up, then we're not for each other. Next.
She said next.
I would say there's always someone out there for everyone. I would say that you may not be in a situation where your environment is having a bunch of people who can meet your expectation. What I would say is change. You might have to change your environment, because it's always going to be people out there who living up to the expectation in what you want. Don't shortchange yourself because you're in me environment. You can't find a man that procreate with. It's always going to be man there to procreate with. But I'm saying that sometimes you must change your environment, change your mindset, change your circumstances. There's always going to be people out here. Yes, yes. It's always going to be people out here who you could be, who you will be able to. Jamaican, grown up Jamaican, she jumped out of the bed. There's always going to be people out here who will be able to fit the bill. Trust me. Do not shortchange yourself.
Get rid of that
because of your immediate environment.
Scarcity.
Yes.
Scarcity.
Yes. Scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset.
Get rid of the scarcity mindset. There's always fishes in the sea.
For
If
those who
you
are
work on
listening,
you first, you'll be
mm-hmm,
fine. What you need will come to you if you work on you. Start with you. You can't change nobody. Start with the man in the mirror. It sounds cliche, but it's the truth.
More like the woman in the mirror.
that too. For
I
those
just
who
want to
just,
chime
go
in
ahead,
and
artists. Go ahead.
I just want to chime in and said I've been listening and attentively, and I just thought, a lot of us don't have confidence in ourselves, and don't have the persons or the father figure that may have spoken to grown up Jamaican's life to say who she is and who
Mm-hmm.
she needs to accept into her life. A lot of us don't have that. And I said us because I've been through some stuff too. A lot of us didn't know that you pick, choose, and refuse. You just think that the first thing come to you, somebody said, "Oh, I love you," then that's it. The panty drop, everything ready. He loves me. I'm fine.
Right.
But you have to know that you have to love yourself. You have to have somebody to tell you that you are great. You are number one, and that you have to have. My husband was used to do it for my daughter. My ex-husband used to bring her flowers, celebrate her on her birthday, do things on special occasion. You take her to a restaurant, do spend time with her, show her what to expect. So whenever somebody come in, and I understand what a gentleman was saying about trying to walk in your father's shoe, but it's not trying to walk in your father's shoe. It's the example that you receive, and it's like, I don't want you to be my father, but I want you to know that I'm used to this life. But if you're not going to bring me this, I can do a battle by myself in a sense, but you have to have a standard. If there's no standard, then you settle for anything.
True.
And so not because her father gave her a great standard, a lot of us parents do, and some of us don't listen, and
That's
don't
also
and you
true.
just and go choose as soon as the light skin, the dark skin, whoever the one would take you here, give you this, you feel like that is it, but you didn't do the homework and investigate that person. So, but first you have to say, start with the woman in the mirror. Look at yourself, tell yourself who you are, what is it that your expectation out of life, and stick to those standards. If you don't put your marker down, then anybody will cross over it or erase it if you don't stand still on that. And you have to test it. Because when you go out and you test it and this person walk away, they're gonna like, okay, I didn't get it right. It's like the devil. That one didn't break her thing down. Let me come back again and try something else. But if you have those standards, and you firmly believe in it, the right person will come your way. Everybody's rushing things like this, and this is where we go back to saying, what is it that make things in the beginning, why things the way they are, or because we're out of order.
Right.
We're out of order, and that's it. We're out of order. We just need to get back in order, and it doesn't take long. Dads used to tell their daughter, mothers used to need to tell their daughter. We can still do it, and we're not just used to tell them, we have to live it, show them the example of it. And unfortunately, a lot of the household these days don't have those examples. But that's where they go find it in somebody else, in somebody who they're a spiritual, somebody they look up to, either the movie they're watching, what they do, people who are around them who influence them, who gets into your kid's life. You have to watch those things too, because they go to school and somebody parents a household, hey, come over to Jimmy's house, and they see Jimmy's parents doing one thing. You figure, okay, that's the right thing. They don't do that in my house. You
Hmm.
you have to watch where your kids go, where your daughters go, where your sons go, just all a part of it. And you have to be their parent, not somebody else, unless that somebody else is vetted. But yeah, confidence and the principles that you set up in your life. That's it. The pillars that you set up.
Great, great conversation. Great conversation. If you're in the comment section, welcome to the conversation. You can surely click the link if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, you have to click the link on YouTube for share your thoughts on your experience growing up, your models, and what do you think is going on in today's society? Why are we thus? I'm seeing a lot of stuff with the young men not having their fathers in their lives. I actually saw a young man who was rather effeminate today on a video, and he had on makeup. So this is not me just, he had on makeup and he had his eyebrows done, and he said he's going to call up his father and tell him he's going to pick him up, and then don't. And then the comment section was what was curious to me, right? The people concluding that it was the lack of the father in the life that wasn't able to model for the young man how to be a man, right? But that also it goes only but so far, because again, some people can have the model and they also reject it for one reason or another. It does help with the situation, but it's not a be all end all in my experience. Some people could have their father there, but the father wasn't there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you look at the the society in which we live in, it's saying, it's giving two signals. It's saying that it's not cool to be a functional black male, and it's not cool really to be even masculine, even masculine. Because what does a society embrace? The society embraces the LGBT kinds of male individuals. The society embraces the thug, the thoughtless person. But if you are a productive, thinking, young black man in the society, I mean, you get castigated. You know, they put a lot of mud in your name. They say, well, you headed to prison or you headed to death. I mean, the society is basically denigrating young black males. So it's very difficult. So a young person looking at that say, well, I don't want to be a black. It's better that I be like my mom. My mom don't get the same pressures as me. When she put on makeup, when she put on a dress, my mom is embraced more so than my dad is, because I had never seen him before. The society is giving a lot of mixed signals. So the young people are looking at this and saying, well, what is it? What am I going to be where I'm going to be embraced, where I'm not going to really, really be in fear for my life, where I'm not going to be considered a threat? It's more comfortable for me to be like this. maybe. So I just think that we need to bring back cool. We need to bring back positivity in regards to the opposite sex, the male sex, the male gender. We need to have a view that it's okay to be a black dad. And being a black dad is wonderful. It's fun. You know what I mean? It's very good. These kinds of images need to be also put out there in the world as well. So when men look at themselves at different stages and ages in their life, they'll be able to embrace it. They don't have to be 55 years old, still trying to compete with 20 and 15 and 17-year-olds. It's okay to be at different stages in my life, because I'm still going to get embraced by my community. My community is going to still see me with a degree of respect. My society is still going to embrace me at large. I think that we need to start putting these kinds of images out there, because there needs to be fundamental growth from each stage of a male's life, from childhood into teenagehood into adulthood.
Right.
I think that that's not really seen within our community, or embraced. On the other side, absolutely, women are always embraced. Women at every stage, women empowerment, etc., etc., etc. But I think that we need to see a better image from the other end of things. I don't know how you all sisters think about that.
Well, I think there's an agenda, especially in this country, these United States. There is an agenda. Okay, I would personally like to see the male that with the roar in the voice that has like a male sounding voice, because today you speak to a lot of these young men, they don't have that male roar. They sound like females, and before you know it, they start putting on makeup. This is all a part of the agenda. This is a part of our food. This is a part of what they're doing to the generation. They're masculine. Okay, they say women are masculine, but what are they doing? They're pushing the women into these masculine roles and beating and keeping our black men. The black men today, you cannot be elevated unless you're a little bit, you're a little bit more feminine. You don't have that roar in your voice. Those are the black men that are getting ahead today. Just look in society. So there is it's not hidden. It's in daylight, broad daylight. There is clearly an agenda in this country. And we
Okay.
just have to be aware of it and see how we could work against that.
There's definitely a multi-level component to this conversation. It's cultural, it's individual, it is the broader society at large. So I would definitely agree that it's coming from all different levels, and more so the parts that we can address, I think, so that we don't get lost in the sauce, like what some of the stuff that artists was saying. Because sometimes I find that when we take it all on, it becomes so much and so exhaustive that we feel like, yo, what can we really do, right? And so the things that we can do to correct the corrective measures is what we should be doing, like in our homes, in our families, in our communities, because children need to be corrected while they're children. They said bend the tree when it's young. You understand what I say? So what happens is that we oftentimes overlook the very important formative years and then wait till the tree get big and be like, oh, we are trying to bend it. No, it got broke because it was supposed to bend when you saw these things, when the time was that you were supposed to correct and redirect. At when it's happening, we're busy, we're consumed, we're on doing other things. So a lot of it slips through until it's already taken root. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important to get into the spaces where the change can be made at that point. I see Norman, shout out to you. Norman is saying a woman have no business believing she could raise children by themselves. If they do, they're living a fantasy. We're talking about Father's Day today. So Norman is putting the onus on the woman, saying she has no business believing she could raise children by herself.
What in the world? Me not like that comment there.
Talk to the comment for a minute.
Listen, the mother is still around, it's the father that's missing. So why is the onus on the female? Men need to be correcting men. You know what I see in social media? These black men out here, they're whipping these black women. Oh, you need to do this and you need to do that. And they're not correcting each other. If you notice, these single family homes are female. 99.99% of them are female single family homes. Where are the father? Why aren't men encouraging each other to choose better? Make sure you know where you're putting your seed. Make sure it's somebody that you can work with. How about that?
And that's what I mentioned in the beginning of this, the delivery of the sperm. Because once you deliver that sperm and you decide around, we have to carry that child for 9 months. And what is it, like another 17 or so years after that, 18 years, and then some. Because guess what? You deliver the sperm and you left. And then it's not what we believe we can't do. We can do all things. It's what you left us to do. And that's it. We're not going to abandon their child. I mean, majority of women is not going to abandon their children just like that. But it's what you left us to do. You left us holding the bag, and we hold the bag, and we carry the bag, we grow the bag, we fill the bag, and we do what we have to do. And you're
And
right
we
about
become
that, saying in
masculine.
Jamaica,
We
man should
become
correct man. Don't try to correct
masculine doing
woman.
this.
They say possession is 9/10 of the law. So
So we're 9/10 of the man.
the possession is 9/10 of the law, sir. So Norman, you could click the link, by the way, as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But I think you guys said what needed to say on this, because this is the perspective that is looking for from the man, saying that, woman, you are wrong for staying, or you are wrong for thinking you can do this. But if she totally abandoned her position, then where would we be? It's like you can't have it both ways. You can't look her, don't want dead with her, don't want to make her a woman, a wife, don't want to take care of her, and then leave her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't want to do what you want to do, impregnate her, and then leave her, and then be mad that she tried to do it because she had no other choice. You understand what I'm saying? That's kind of like, I don't know. It's a bit much. But he says some men turn in a woman because a daddy was absent. I don't know, Norman. You're gonna
Well,
have to click
Norman
the
needs to
link.
come online and
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna
discuss
have to click
that
the link
first
for me.
comment, because there's got to be more behind that than what just putting that out there and then be all over the place. So he's
Yeah.
going to have to
For
address that deeper.
yeah, for me, I value the idea of legacy. See, I like myself. I like myself, and I couldn't see a child have a child know that a child is out here that I don't have no control over, no say so in, nothing to do with. I couldn't imagine that because I like myself. Yes. So, and if I have a child, I am seeing myself literally, literally. This is a representation of my future and my legacy. After I'm long gone, that'll be my representative here on this planet. And to see that unguarded, unnurtured, disregarded, and set aside on the roadside, I have to really think low about myself.
Hmm.
So I couldn't allow something like that to happen. I really truly do not understand how it is that some of my brothers don't know the last time their child even had a meal, and they just leave it completely up to the woman. I mean, it's like I grew up like growing up Jamaican. Like I said, that's not been my experience at all. Fundamentally, I don't have it in my heart to do. But if these brothers out here doing it, I mean, it's shame on them. Shame on them all day. And yes, what they'll say to me is, okay, but she take me in court. Let her take you to court. That's your legacy. Wouldn't you want to fight for your legacy? We
Right.
say, well, she could garnish my wages. That's your legacy. That your legacy deserve all your money, all
Hmm.
your money. But she take the money and she buy it and she spend it on herself. That's another matter. Now you have to make an arrangement where you could have some control over your legacy, just like the mother does, if you're not with her. If you're not with her, but at some point, the brothers need to put on their big boy pants and deal with life as it is. Sometimes life can be difficult. Sometimes the woman who you lay down with, had a child with, can be difficult as well. But you have to be willing to pay that cost. The child is here already. That is your legacy. Are you willing to fight for that? Or are you willing to just leave it on the roadside? What's that say about you? I
Right.
don't know. These are questions I ask myself internally when I
They
see
need to choose
scenarios like
better.
that.
They need to choose better. Okay? Just because you can impregnate a woman every night for the next 50 days, that ain't mean you're supposed to. Remember, the onus is on the guys because we can only have one a year, right? Once a year. We can give birth to one child. They can impregnate a new woman every night until eternity, right? So why is always the women it's the even though my father tell me you look out for you, right? That's what I was told. So I always did look out for me. I make sure the situation is right for me. A lot of girls are not being told that. They're trusting these men and then being left holding the bag.
Hmm.
Men need to correct men, but they're busy correcting the women. How do we change that? How do we work on that? Because I'm saying, here it is. I am busting my ass, making sure that I get my kids right. But I look out there and I say, what are my daughters going out there to?
Hmm.
What is my son really going out there to? Are the parents out there being intentional like me? Are they? Women need to choose better and men need to choose better as well. It's not the onus is not all on the woman.
But
Know where
growing
you
up Jamaican, growing up Jamaican, just consider the situation. Okay? Now, if you were my sister and I saw that uh, your baby, your husband is doing things that is very neglectful, and I come up to him and I check him, I was like, you need to do this and that and the third. He may respond to me, don't tell me how to run my house. Now we get a big problem with each other. And that can really that's almost like lighting a match.
no
So I, okay,
when
all
no
right.
when Other men, when your husband knows that you have men in your life that's gonna stand up for you, you got a daddy that's behind you, like, yeah, they do better. They take advantage of women that they feel don't have protection. What was the first thing I wrote in your chat today? Security. Security was the first word I wrote. If you know this female has security, you're not just gonna do any old thing to her.
I think both have important points. What Boana is saying, I think it's coming from the one person checking another person, one man checking another man. And I'm using again my study of West African culture here, so bear with me. What usually happens in a lot of the culture that is depicted is it's not just one man checking another man. It's a group, a family structure, societal family structure being held accountable by another family societal structure. So because it's not just an individual thing and they are interrelated into this community, it goes beyond I'm checking you. It has other far-reaching implications. But because we are so scattered and disjointed, it may look like one person with no backative checking someone who truthfully could be like, yeah, who y'all talk to? Where y'all gonna do? You understand? Like, who's behind you to kind of enforce what it is that you're saying? And that's a result, in my estimation, of the disconnect that we have from our greater community. Because if you were accountable to a greater community, you can't be out here doing stupid stuff. Because, oh yeah, me here say, yeah, do such and such. Now it reflects when you go to your community center. It reflects when you go to your religious center. It reflects when you go to school. It reflects when you try to get a job. Now the society is putting pressure on the individual to do right, as opposed to one person putting pressure on the other person to do it. You understand what I'm saying? So I could hear what both of you are saying, and both of them are valid points. But we're kind of dealing what we have with today. And some men don't want to say anything because are they ready to go to war?
It's not, and it's the approach, Imona. It's the approach. We're not
Maybe
going
there's
to
skeleton
war.
in that closet. So who's checking who?
We're not going to war. We're intelligently reasoning. Listen, yo, some of my sister told me so and so and so and so. Come on now. It's the approach.
Right,
It's
right.
we need to approach it from a more reasoning perspective instead of scolding. There's a difference. And as you say, the community does make a difference.
For those who just joined us, the link is in the box. Go ahead, Buwana.
It's been my if I see where my sisters are being mistreated, in particular with the children, I would just tell my sister, if there's an issue, oh yeah, your husband doesn't want to take my nephew to get his haircut, bring him to me, I'll go do it. Okay. And so, and then what may happen is the father may look at me crazy, like, well, that's my responsibility. You don't need to be doing that. Let me do it. I'm like, well, the mommy telling me, I don't want to intervene and cause dramas in a situation I have nothing to do with. I am simply just trying to solve a problem. I am simply, as a person who cares for my sister and her child, I am trying to solve a problem. But in doing that, I am also intervening in their particular relationship as well. Like you say, we are all connected. So you have to navigate in a very diplomatic very diplomatic way, because it's almost like it could be like lighting a match. So you have to be extremely diplomatic in the way you go about doing things. So I think that is right. You have to be diplomatic.
And speaking of a haircut, you brought me back to an incident that happened. I'm going to tell you, my son was a baby at the time, and he had a big old head of hair. And my brother and his wife, I had to drop him off by their house. They were babysitting him. And my son came home with a haircut. Because my brother called me and he said, what's going on with this boy's hair? He needs a haircut. And I said, can you cut it for me? Oh, my God. When My son came home. My husband had a solid nervous breakdown. And I was like, I'm sorry. I told him. And he said, no, don't you ever do that again. That's my job. That's my job. Ever since then, never. My son and his dad, they work out when he's supposed to go to the barber. As a matter of fact, now he's 13. So now he doesn't take him anymore. He goes by himself and he stopped by the barber and pays the barber. I have nothing to do with it because he set me straight. And as I told you, at the time, my son was about 2 years old. And I was set straight and I stayed straight since then.
You see that, Bawana? Growing up Jamaican is not a bully.
I hear.
It's a give and take relationship. It's a give and take. Listen, you listen. They both listen.
Right. And that's what it takes. It takes the ability to compromise and listen and understand when someone felt like, okay, you violated. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you say, you know what, that wasn't my intention. And you guys go from there. So this is an example of, you know, people and how we have to learn to communicate. Learn to. Norman saying can't click the link.
You know what? You didn't say growing up Jamaican. You didn't say, I feel me picking it too, you know.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I passed my place and I apologized.
Diplomacy.
I apologized. And I had to really, you know, because I'm telling you, he was having a silent nervous breakdown because somebody, another man, which is this child's uncle, cut his hair. I
hear that.
I dutifully apologize and it never happened again.
Yes, that's very sticky. I want to ask a question to the sisters. If you all are involved in a committed relationship, whether it's marriage or partnership or whatever, do y'all guys actively work to maintain and keep the family together, or do you act almost as individuals in a relationship? Like every man for themselves, God first, or as long as he meeting my needs, I don't care. Usually women don't work that way, but I have to ask the question, you know, do you guys actively try to ensure that the relationship remains kind of cohesive and together? You understand what I'm saying or no?
Yeah, you know, marriage is hard work. It's not easy. It's not easy. It takes communication. It takes compromise. It takes sometimes, you know, pulling back a little bit. And it also takes boundaries and standards. It's not easy. Anybody that says that a marriage is easy, they lie.
And so just to clarify the question, you're saying the effort is for the family or for the personal relationship?
No, what I'm saying is I am seeing a trend because it seems like the sisters now, back in the day, it was like all for me, baby. It was like, you know, as long as my individual needs are being met, I really don't need nobody to do anything for me. But I'm seeing a trend now where we are going towards like almost like a family type of relationship to try to reinstall that idea of family within our communities.
The extended family.
Just the nuclear family itself. I see that women are going back to trying to maintain and build these kinds of relationships because they have learned from not having a man around, not having certain things met in their own personal lives. So I've seen them trying to actively restore this idea of the nuclear family and in essence even an extended family. Do you sisters actively try to do that when you all are in committed relationships? Do you all actively try to maintain that relationship
with the extended family?
Yes.
Nuclear or extended?
You know, mine is extended because I did meet my husband with a daughter. So, you know, trying to see what's working and what's not working. And clearly, what's going on in society with all these single parents household, it's not working. The children are falling by the wayside. There is something that this country normalizes. Oh, the woman has the baby, and in 6 weeks, the baby goes to
Yeah, that's
daycare,
madness. That's
and
madness.
the baby goes to daycare, and mommy goes back to work. No, no, that is a problem. Our children are being abused. You listen, dropping off a baby that doesn't speak, that can't help themselves to a caregiver that you don't know is a travesty.
Mhm.
But guess what? That's something that's accepted here in this country because mommy gotta go back to work. Yeah, yeah, because you need 10 Nike sneakers and 15 Jordan, and you need the latest game console. So mommy gotta go back to work. What are we doing? What exactly are we doing? And that is something that is destroying the Black community. Destroying might be a harsh word, but that's what it's doing. We have lost what our real priorities are. And we're running out there and working, and nobody's home monitoring these kids. So if we have to go back to the nuclear family, fighting, clawing to get back to the nuclear family, to where if mommy's not there, daddy's not there, the extended family, grandma, grandpa, somebody looking over our children. Because a lot of our children are going to the wayside because of this. Mommy's working because daddy's not, mommy has to do everything because daddy's not around, or mommy and daddy's working, and the children are left with strangers. How do we I mean, each of us has to intentionally make that change within our own family, but how do we move away from that? Is everybody making a conscious effort? No, because our society says you drop them babies after 6 weeks and put them in the very expensive daycare.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, like what Grown Up Jamaican has said, there is a move, or to the bonus question, for some, there you need an extended family. The thought of just only having the mom, the dad, and the child is relatively new. That's not something that is cultural in many
That's
places in
true.
the
That's
world,
true.
right? That's not normal. You understand? But when the families started to separate and move from communal intergenerational living to this just linear mother, father, child, this is all the issues that Grown Up Jamaican is talking about come in, because that elder, I was literally just talking to my mother, and she was talking about when we were younger, and my grandfather, he would say, bring them, come. Why? Because they're going to work. So you know that mama and dada is looking after the children, not like some random person looking after your picnic. You know that mama and dada, or an elder auntie, or somebody is looking after the child, and the child is well taken care of. You understand? So I think the move towards that is only just a return to something that is needed. Even when you look in during slavery times, right? The elder people who they were too old to go into the field. These were the persons who were, quote, providing child care, the persons who were looking after the children. So, like what is being said, part of the breakdown is mommy's not there because she gonna work 6 weeks with her womb still buying up. Daddy's not there. You understand? He's either not there or not there. You choose, right? And the child is left floundering. And granny is living her best life, getting a BBL. You understand me? I say,
Lorraine, you did not go there. You just did not go there.
I just look. No, granny is like living her best life because she's 50. She just
Yeah,
getting a
she
BBL.
she's in Jamaica getting her back blown out.
she's like Stella here. So it's not even like Granny one time. It's a different kind of granny. This is not even the granny that you may have grown up to say, come, baby, let me show you how to do something. This is granny telling you, let's look at TikToks and learn this new dance. So even when you look at the grandparents who you would leave the children with, do you really want to? Like we were watching Matlack and Hunter. These children are watching TikTok and twerking. It's not the same thing. My granny had us
Right.
watching Jeopardy. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to learn a word or two. But these children is learning all kind of foolishness, and it's the grandparents that are doing it because of them not having a childhood or their parents raising their children. And to be frank, some of the older generation are tired because our generation and a little younger had children and then left them on them. So they raised their children and then they raised their children's children. And now their children are the BBL grannies. And now this new generation is wondering, well, what do I do now? You understand? Granny is not baking a rum cake no more. I'm just sorry to tell you. That's not what Granny's out here doing. So it's a catch-22, really, because of how things are going in society and just what I'm able to observe. You know what I mean?
And I agree with that, Mona. And Mona, I do agree with that. The thing that I didn't understand, I didn't read his question that way, but since it went that way, I would just think that that's how we no longer have the support of our community because
Mhm.
we have just been blown out by so much distractions, things that are not like it used to be how we grew up. And it's always going to be like that in society. That's not how I grew up. That's not how I grew up. Coming all the way down to my grandchild. That's not how I grew up. And
Right.
everybody wants to have it their way. And we can't have it. And it's not going to be the way her grandmother or grandmother was because a lot of things in even going back and even with the books you're reading, a lot of things back then, you can't compare it to what we are now. But the one thing that you can always say is that if you want your family to be stable, or if your idea of what a stable family is to um, keep your family together, is a partly of what Grown Up Jamaica said, and the other part is definitely about what you said because the thing about grandmothers are not the same, and you grow up and you leave the home, and that's why kids cannot relate to grandparents because the grandparents are not even there to take
Mm,
care of them or to be there in their life and to help grow them and bring them up the way that we always said back in the days you used to sing these songs go down, and that's how you pass down history. There's
mhm.
no history passing
There is
down to the
no
kids
history
these
being
days.
passed down.
There's
That's
nothing being passed down, and even if you didn't pass it down and grandma's in the house with the baby or the kids and the grandma can pass it down, pass it over you and pass it down, they're not there
true.
because there's so much distractions in life, and parents are not with their parents anymore. Parents, grandmother live here, live there, and it's just broken. It's not like we grew up in a yard or something with every family member in that yard, mom, dad, grandparents, and you can leave and the kids then are going to be fine. It's not the same. So if we want to think family, we have to just think family. And what is a family to you? Is family to you just having, okay, I'm not going to work that hard. I'm going to be there for my kids. You have to define family for yourself. You have to define how you want your child to be brought up. And you have to say, I'm not going to be succumbed to this world where they have to have everything that's on the shelf. They're going to have their needs met. And family to me is bringing up my kids, having them know their grandparents, having them know something in life and take away all these distractions. Because when you come down to it, we are the one that's responsible for engaging them in these things to begin with. But how I think originally I understood your question here, sir, is that are you holding on to your relationship the same way we were before? And the first thing that came to mind when I thought about that is like we're gonna have to hold on to it because when you let it go, you don't know what you're getting when you get out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, mom. Yes, mom.
That's how I
Absolutely.
understood your question to
Yes,
be.
yes. It's a
Like, are
jungle out
you
here. That's
holding
right.
on? What are you doing to fight for your relationship? Are you fighting for it anymore? Or are you just gonna be like, okay, let it go on. But before you could let it go. Now you're like, is he, or is he? Is he both ways? Is he? Who am I getting? So you better stick with the evil. My mom always say.
They say you know where you get when you don't know where you get.
Yes, make it
Because going
worse. It's
out
not
here,
so bad. It's not bad.
after all, now that me I think about it, You start rethinking that stuff. It's crazy. That's what I heard, that there's pee in the pool. I heard that it's crazy out in these streets,
It's street.
and
I
that
got sisters. It's crazy. Younger sisters. That's crazy. I don't want to hear the stories. You don't know who it is.
wow,
So yeah. So you stick with the evil. You know. You teach the partner. They teach you.
wow, wow. This has been an
Because you're
engaging
gonna have to start
conversation.
all over again anyway with a new student.
Mercy. I mean, and again, the value of relationship. I think overall, in general, it's a give and take, because as we're reading Marcus, we could see some arms race was going on then. You know what I mean?
I'm so she said I'm so.
Some big arms race that go on in a 1919. You know what I mean? The perception is like, no, people were doing what people were supposed to be doing, and the reality is, nah, it never did. I go so neither. You understand? But today, it's more, I think, socially acceptable. At least, like when they tried to shame Amy, and then she tried to be like, I don't understand why you're shaming me. At least there was some shame. But today, there is no shame. You know what I mean? There's no shame. People coming outside, people are presenting themselves. Society, I think, people are going to be people, but society is no longer holding you to the standard.
You're no longer in the closet.
Right.
It's
It's
open. It's
out
out in
now.
the open now.
It's in the open.
Everything that was nothing new under the
Right,
sun, Imuna.
right.
Nothing new under the
There's nothing
sun.
new. Correct. Now it's out in the open. Before, if you breed somebody's child, daughter, shotgun wedding that name. You understand me? I say you are gonna marry that. But today it's like you breed her, and you breed her next one, and you breed her next one, and enough gal and the gal in a bungle. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute. Oh, no one's holding you accountable for all of these things that you're doing. And now it's like, how much baby mother you have? Boy, I'm about nine of them. And it's very normalized. And we say stuff like, oh, it's to be expected. Really?
No,
Is
no, you should be arrested. You should be arrested. The what's the dancehall artist? The Elephant Man have like 38 children. I'm thinking to myself, how in the world could you father 38 children, brother, with all them different baby mothers? It become an impossibility. But that
My
culture needs
like my
that
girlfriend
culture.
said on the line. Sorry about that. You can get them pregnant every hour, every week, every day. A woman can't have
Yes,
but one baby a year, but a man can go and do what he got to do.
yes. So that culture must die because that used to be a culture. You must breed off a whole lot of bunch of women to be a man. That mentality must end. That's a crazy. That's an insane mentality. But
right.
needless to say, no, I understand the sisters and it's the sisters' perspective. Thank you all sisters for answering my questions. I know Norman is coming up now, so I'll just drop down and continue to listen. Okay, Mona? It's been a
Thank you.
wonderful conversation, ladies.
All right. Blessings.
Thank you.
All right, Norman, welcome to the conversation. You find the click button. We can't hear you. The mic is open. Turn up your mic. See if you can turn up the mic a little bit. We see you, but we can't hear you.
Is the mic on mute? No, no, man. We don't want to sit right there, so just don't come close.
Wait, now, man,
Just
you don't have to come so close. See, double check to see before you come in. When you click, it shows you the levels on the mic. If it's not green, then the mic is not live. So if you can go out and come back again to see if the mic is turning green before you click the link. Yeah, you have to turn not the mute, but the green, the levels on the mic.
Or
It's
just
okay.
turn up the volume on the phone or the computer and see if that works. Turn up maybe the phone volume is on low. Turn the volume up on your computer or your phone.
an example of why a woman can't do it on the moon.
Okay. Go on a bit. Go out for a second, Norman, and then come back in for me. And then when you're coming in, see it's gonna tell you mic levels, and then if the mic levels is on, then we can hear you. Okay. So I'm gonna make you go out, and then you just click the link again. Let's take time. Norman already told us it takes a little adjustment for the computer thing. So we're gonna give him some time and extend some patience. I want to thank everybody who's just joined us. What time are we? We are at 9:36. Whoa, we've been on here for 2 hours. It's been a great conversation. We're gonna give Norman a little time to come back in and share his thoughts before I go ahead and boogie. So if anybody has anything to say at this time, feel free to do so. Click the link and come on in. Norman, just go ahead and click the link and try to come back in again. I've had to help the older generation with electronics, and sometimes it takes a little bit of adjustment. So he says that my phone is maxed. So then if for some reason it's not being transmitted, the volume is not being heard. The volume is not being heard. Let me just come through some of these comments while I'm waiting. Jasmine says this convo is deep. So much I want to tell all my business. But you don't want to tell your business. I understand. If it's helpful, you can come on up and share. But I understand if you start sharing, you might share the whole light. So, as you see fit. I mean, we have to have safe spaces to not only have these conversations, but help others who may be struggling in these areas. Okay, we see Brother Norman is back. I'm going to go ahead and pull you up. Let's see if we can hear you now. Go ahead and talk for me. No, I still can't hear you.
It's the volume.
It's the volume. Still can't hear you.
Because I heard him ask the question, but I think his volume is low.
Right. You're not hearing the volume come through. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry we're not able to hear what it is you had to share in the conversation. I'm not sure. Are you using a computer or are you using your cell phone? It looks to me like you're using your cell phone. You might want to check the volumes at the top of the cell phone. The part that has the volume button, if you press it, it should extend and you should be able to see all of your levels. Okay, you're using your cell phone. Let me see something. If you press your volume button, it should pull up all of your levels, your system sounds, just to see if all of your levels are up and to make sure nothing is on mute. So try to check your system levels. We're going to wait for a little bit more. We can see you fine. We just can't hear you. Everybody say, no worry yourself now, man. At least you're trying. Nothing is on mute. Well, then this is curious because I don't know why we can't hear you. You might just have to type then for me. Just type for me if we can't hear you, and then I'll read it out. I did kind of want you to say what you had to say, but for some reason, we are not able to hear.
And he's pushing the side button on his phone to turn up
You
the
may
volume
need
and
the
not turn
stream.
it down.
No, if you're on, then the StreamYard app, the link is working because you're on it. I can see you. So that's not the thing. The thing is, we're not hearing you.
Volume button on the side of his phone or the top, whichever, wherever.
No, it's the mic. It's the mic. He can hear us, but we can't hear him. So it's the input that seems to be having the problem. So I'm sorry about that little technical difficulty and thing. But hopefully next time we'll be able to get that on the way and we can hear you. So you can go and just listen in or type and I can share your sentiments. But at this time, we're not able to hear you. So sorry about that. No worry yourself, Norman. It's understandable. It's understandable. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been an insightful conversation. I didn't even get around to the article, but that's all good. You understand? Because we kind of spoke from our own personal experiences. Wait, what? We spoke. So thank you for coming on Grown Up Jamaican. Thank you for coming on Artist. And yeah, thank you for coming on, Bawana, and thank everybody in the chat for sharing their thoughts. And hopefully it helps somebody wherever they may be in this space and time. Right? So with that said, you don't know, I'm gonna go ahead and play a little commercial and thing. You know, I'm always working on 50 million things. I always have to push the needle forward. You know, talking is one thing, and then implementing the things we speak about. And again, what was spoken about the children today, I'm very invested in that early communication, early investment in children's lives, because that's where the cement, as I like to say, is still wet. That's where the impressions, the good impressions, can be made, right? That's where we have to focus our time, energy, and attention. It's because once you get beyond that point, it becomes difficult. Yes, Bawana made some excellent points today. He spoke very well. So definitely big up yourself, Bawana, for letting your voice be heard. Now you can hear us. Okay, maybe it was a little bit of technical difficulties. So wherever you are, you know, you don't just necessarily only have to wait till you become a father, become a mother, or your children are grown. However, you can sow into the lives of children and affect change in a positive way in the lives of children, do that. You understand? Because it goes beyond just being a physical mother and a physical father. I saw in closing a video someone put together of people who became celebrities and their favorite teachers. Yeah. And they had all kind of people up there, right? Oprah Winfrey, all kind of famous people, quote unquote famous. And when the teacher came out, when they said, what's your favorite teacher? And they remembered the 4th grade teacher, 3rd grade teacher, somebody who's investing in you and made connections with you at a point in time where you were most impressionable. And when they saw, these grown adults saw these teachers, their English teacher, their science teachers, from when they were children, they became like they were children again, because it took them back to where that person made such an impact in your life positively. So I say that to say, the Bible tells us to be a father to the fatherless, right? To be a mother to the motherless. We need to invest in these spaces, because it is just as important to have your own children as it is to be that village for the children that we already have, right? You never know how much a difference you can make, right, in the life of a child. So just remember that as we go forward, because you have people who are maybe in all kind of circumstances who may not or cannot have the opportunity to be a mother biologically or be a father biologically. There are all kind of other ways that you can make differences in the future. So if you're worried about those who are coming up behind you, this is a lot of the reason why I do a lot of the things that I do, because I have children coming up behind me and I want to sow good in the world. You know what I mean? I want to put forth positive energy in the world so that positive can find back my own as well. So I help as many people as I can and create as many spaces as I can for healing and growth and elevation, so that, you know, a blessing would be added to mine and those who come behind me. So we be the difference, you know what I mean, that we want to see. Right? So with that said, everybody, I'm gonna run this little commercial and thing. And yeah. If you see me like a health video, only not skip over the health video them, you know. Don't skip over, because right now we're talking to the children and we're talking about healthy alternatives, because the parents and the caretakers are leaving them with these, and the school systems with these very unhealthy introductions to food that are not food. And food sets the stage for many things that come after in life, right? And so if they're not introduced to certain things, or if they're moving ignorance because they don't know and the parents don't know, it sets them up for, next thing you know, GoFundMe for, you know, some sickness, or GoFundMe for some illness or something that befalls people, because we didn't do prevention is better than cure, right? So each one teach one. Let me go ahead and run this thing, and I pray everybody have a blessed, wait, I want my things gone. Everybody have a blessed day. Here is the fundraiser for you. It just launched. Let's Eat fundraiser for education and promotion tour. I have a goal of reaching 5,000 children for the remainder of this 2024 year. Up to date, I have engaged with, taught, read to hundreds of children, right? But this particular project is to raise money so that I can do it full time. All right. Then you can click on our GoFundMe, and here you will see Emuna empowering 5,000 children, which is not out of reach. Okay. According to the statistics, we have about 14 million children in the United States at risk for health related issues based on bad diet, and that's coming from the CDC, so you can check that out on your own. It's each touch point that we can have, each opportunity that we can have to sow into the lives of children. Let them know that healthy eating can be fun. Show them how it can be done. Engage them in a positive way. We can definitely make a difference. So go ahead over to the Yummy Cottage as well as GoFundMe.com and support the team. Thank you so much for your time. All right, everybody. So with that said, everybody have a blessed day. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, right? And stay safe. All right. One.